that guy, have a vision for how you want to build your business and why you became entrepreneurs and business owners. And on that path, working with entrepreneurs and business owners, I've gotten pretty familiar with what that vision looks like. You start out early, it's lean, you're doing whatever you can to make things work, you build strategy, you get a chance to actually start having your income increase, getting some freedom and autonomy. Over time, you get to take some better vacations, ultimately with the ambition that what you're going to be able to do is sell that business one day and have enough capital to just kick it, do whatever you want to do. And along the way of getting to know entrepreneurs, over the last 16 years of my career, I've noticed that there's 3 really predominant mindsets that occur for every business owner. One is, my business is the best possible place for me to invest money. 2 is that one day I'm going to sell this business for enough money that I'm going to be able to live off that money for the rest of my life. And 3, anybody that disagrees with number 1 or number 2 cannot be trusted, nor should I listen to their advice, and at best, I'm going to think they don't understand what it means to be a business owner. So, as I've watched entrepreneurs build this mindset, I've had a unique experience of working with them. Getting in the business back in 1998, I had the experience of watching both 2000 and 2008 occur. Well, when you get started in this business, you inevitably end up working with business owners. And over time, just because of the nature of how I am, many of them became close friends. And in 2008, when the bottom fell out, I got to get exposed uniquely to 2 different sets of conversations. One through my wife, who's friends with all of our clients, and my experience of what they went through. You see, we don't share anything confidential about our clients with our spouses in our firm. And as a result, my wife got the public social experience of what my clients were going through, while I had the closed-door private conversations with them as their financial professional. You see, clients were pulling their kids out of private school, and what they were telling people at the dinner parties was, well, you know, the public high school is super close to our house, you know, and I want them to get better socializing, and that'll better prepare them for college. Yet behind closed doors, when they were talking to me, it was because the credit cards are maxed, credit lines blown out, home equity line of credit was called, and they're 2 months behind on the primary mortgage. So as we watch that happen, I've been thinking through what is it I can do to crack that mindset that has them go all in on just the business to help them build maybe a more appropriate base that doesn't have to happen to them. Our close friends broke some tremendous promises to their children, their spouses, their extended family, and their communities when their balance sheets were destroyed. So what we came up with was this philosophy that maybe there's just 3 major knowledge gaps missing that could shift this mindset. One we're going to call 4%, 65, 92. The second is having an understanding of survivorship bias. And third is a new way to look at how to deal with the cash flow you take out of your business. So 4%. What many people haven't been exposed to is the fact that when you build up an amount of money, it's got to be enough to replace the income you were making when you were a business owner. And that amount of money has to be big enough that only 4% a year coming off of it every year will be enough for you to have the lifestyle you had prior. You know, many people think about, well, the stock market just kind of does 10%, you know, or the real estate market does 10%. But all those things that we would invest in go up and down over time. And if you take out the average rate of return in those down years, you accelerate the erosion of your capital, leaving you in a spot where you could run out of money before you run out of retirement. So to put that in simple terms, if you want to have $400,000 a year of income, you can have $10 million of capital at work on your balance sheet outside of your home's value. Now, we don't know how long you're going to live, which is why you can only take off the 4% every year. But the good news is there's actuaries, and they do know how long you're going to live on average. Brings us to 65 and 92. You see, when we talk to our client groups of this size, we ask them, what do you picture your life looking like when you're 65? And inevitably, one of those things is health, and everybody thinks they're going to be pretty healthy when they get to age 65. You see, people who retire well are not a part of the general mortality curve, right? They're different. So 2 healthy 65-year-old spouses, they don't reach mortality until age 92. The second is not likely to die until after age 92. To put that in perspective, half live longer. And there's a 10% chance that one of them will live to age 100. Meaning we could be drawing income off of our assets for longer than we ran our businesses. So we've got to someday get to the point where we can sell the business, have enough capital to live the rest of our lives. And on our way to being able to do that, we've still got to grow the business. And we're all pretty optimistic about growing our business. Unfortunately, we intellectually all know that the odds are totally against any of us being able to successfully survive to age 65. To put it in perspective, but here's the thing, we don't think about it. We have something called survivorship bias working against us. You don't see or calculate into any decision you make all the things you can't see. We're most comfortable making decisions based upon what we know, understand, and see. So right now in this room, we have about 40 business owners. And 10 years ago, to have a room of business owners like this, 10 years ago, 350 business owners had to open up shop to leave 40 10 years later. So far, so good. For those business owners to also qualify for membership in EO, 3,500 had to start a business 10 years ago. And we're what's left standing. So I think to myself, well, I should be able to grow my business, avoid all these threats that could take me out, and sell it one day to be able to have enough money. Well, that seems like that'd be pretty easy. Of course, we all think that because we don't think about all the folks that aren't here. But if I sell my business, and it's a larger business, over $2 million of value, it'll sell between, ignoring any outliers, between 3.5 and 6 times EBITDA. If it's a small business, it's only going to be 2.5 to 3.5 times seller's discretionary earnings. So wait a second. If I can just take 4% a year, I need 25 times my annual income in capital at work. That means I got a big gap to close outside of the sale of my business. So for my wife and I, this led us to living a more conservative lifestyle. And that more conservative lifestyle, we save a great deal of our income that we take out of the business every year, really allowed us to trip over this book called Stop Acting Rich. It's written by a guy named Thomas Stanley. Thomas Stanley is the same guy that wrote the book, The Millionaire Next Door. And this book classifies a new group of people called the balance sheet wealthy. These are the folks that have enough money on their balance sheet to actually replace their income when their business is done. And that took us down the path of having a new philosophy of how we handle the cash flow that comes into our household. This is ours. So knowing my enterprise value isn't enough, we knew we had to save a great deal of money. So everybody starts out with 100% of their income. No matter how much or how little you got, you start with 100%. And then for us, we choose to tithe 10% to our church, and then we give about 2% to other various charities. Now, even after giving that much, we still give 28% to the IRS, and they tend to want theirs ahead of us saving any money, which is 25%, and we live off or live out our values on 35% of our income. Now, this is not meant to show you a retrospective of like what happened last year, but it's actually how we make all of our new decisions for consumption to make sure that they don't interfere with other things that we need to do, like have enough capital at work one day. So, for us, we want to buy a yacht. We think it'd be cool to have a yacht. But to do it, we need $5,000 a month. After everything, to pay for it and not worry about where we park it or what it costs to maintain it. So, yacht's $5,000 a month. But if we're going to have $5,000 a month, that means we got to save $3,500 a month, which means we got to pay $4,000 a month in taxes, which means we're going to give $1,700 to charity, which means we have to make $14,250 a month. So a boat is a $14,000 decision in my household, not a $5,000 decision. And we do that in everything so that our consumption can never compromise our values. So I'll leave you with this. I want you to picture, you probably all know someone like this or have known someone like this who's worked for, say, a large technology company. And as a result of helping build that technology company, they've been given a great deal of stock in that company. And what they've said is, I'm going to retire on this company. Look at all the stock I've got. It's no problem. I don't need to save much money. In fact, almost all of my net worth is wrapped up in this one stock. Now, of course, we'd never go to that person, nor would any of you, even after this talk, tell them, well, what you ought to do is stop working for that company and save a bunch more, right? Or get rid of the stock. That's not right to do. But what you might tell them is they need to take a disciplined approach where they're saving 15 to 25% of their income, driving it to elsewhere on their personal balance sheet. Because if they have that and they have the business and they get a great liquidity event, they get both, right? But if they only have the stock and it goes bad and they don't get the liquidity event they wanted, they're left breaking promises to their spouse, breaking promises to their children, breaking promises to their extended family and their community. So you may know this person, or this person could be you, where a great deal of your assets are wrapped up in one holding, your business. And what I'd encourage everybody to do is take a close look at whether or not you're driving money elsewhere on your balance sheet, so that you can have a robust personal balance sheet. So if you get that liquidity event, then you get both. And if for whatever reason you don't have that liquidity event you wanted, you get the greatest likelihood of keeping your promises. Thank you.